on to Shedeur Sanders. So, a week ago, we talked about the potential fall, but neither of us the farthest we had was 20s.
Yeah,
20s.
we said he would be picked in the first round.
And he ended up going 5th round, which is no one saw. And I go so indifferent about this because obviously when he fell that far, something drastic had to happen. And I was a kind of a big Shedeur Sanders fan. Like, I like the guy. Even just seeing some of the draft day interviews, stuff that came out, and saying how teams took him off his draft board, this guy really just hurt his stock. Part of me feels a little bad for him, but I'm almost I'm like 50-50 on most of it was his fault.
I think most of it was his fault. Also, taking from the perspective of a coach or GM, I feel like they could be thinking, if we draft this guy and he's not great, then in a sense there could be pressure from like Dion or something if he could come and coach a team and like that.
Sure.
Because Dion's not just some guy who coaches. Like, he's a successful coach in college football, and maybe he'd be
You're right.
going on a public campaign almost to get that coach fired, and that's just something that owners don't want to deal with. And if you're a coach or GM, you don't want that because
that's your job.
Yeah, it's your job.
I think so much of it, what tells me a lot is up until about, feels like a month ago, the New York Giants were the high team on Shedeur Sanders. There were rumors of them taking him at 3. And just recently, they just went so cold on him. They clearly wanted a quarterback. They traded up for it. And something must have went so wrong there that it spread to other executives where, like, the word just got bad. Because in December, January, I'm like, oh, Dable loves this guy. And it just came out that Dable just did not
like him. And
did
also
not want him at all. And I think that says a lot.
Yeah, it also came out that I guess Dable had a play in the playbook or something that he forgot, and then Dable criticized him or kind of like went in on him for forgetting. And
I didn't see this. Okay.
Oh, I saw this somewhere.
Yeah, keep going.
And that he didn't take it well. I think it was Peter Schrager.
That's bad.
ESPN.
Yeah. This is where I don't feel bad for him because he does it to himself. But I've said this for a while, and I think it's fully true now. I really think he got hurt by his dad because he clearly had the talent to play college football and excel at it in some ways. And if his dad, even if he was Deion Sanders' son, if his dad wasn't the coach, if he went to a Power 5 program instead of following his dad, really helping his dad's program, I just wonder how his career would look right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to find
I don't know if I'm just overthinking it, but I really think he got hurt by being Deion's son. And a lot of it is on Deion because at the end of the day, he raised that kid. He understands the NFL business. And he hurt his son's draft stock.
And, yeah, and it's because of what they do in the media. Like, if they kept quiet. Also, we'll probably end up talking about the prank phone call that –
it wasn't just him.
But that was the most
of course
publicized one. But even during that phone call when he thought it was the Saints GM, he kept saying his catchphrase like "Let's be legendary, let's be legendary." And to me, what that looks like is he's just doing that for the video that he's taking. So when he gets drafted, he can make his promo thing for whatever he's trying to sell or whatever for his brand. He can put that clip in there of him saying, "Yeah, let's be legendary." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm like, the more I read in this guy, I'm starting to see a lot of the negatives, and I understand why he fell. 5th round to me is a little excessive, and you just saw a stance from the NFL saying we're not gonna, like, this guy's not taking over our team, and he's on the Browns now. And look, most 5th round picks never really start. He's not gonna be looked at as a 5th round pick. He's like. I'm sure the odds
because the talent is hot better than a 5th round.
And
pick,
I guess for how much he fell, I guess he's in a good spot because he has a chance to start this year. Mm-hmm. Maybe not week 1, but you trust Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, who that part confuses me. Why? Do you think it was an ownership thing?
That they were like, we got to draft this guy?
Yes, Sanders.
Probably. Because if you're going to – you don't draft. It's
a little weird.
We see sometimes where a team will draft a quarterback in the 1st round and then take one in the 5th, 6th round. but you never. I don't think I've ever seen a team take a quarterback in like the 3rd, 4th, 5th round.
I think you're right.
Whenever they did that. The Shedeur Sanders thing. So it was Todd McShay that reported it. He had a bad meeting with the Giants. He allegedly was unprepared for an install with Giants head coach Brian Daboll, and when he was called out on it, he got into it with Brian Daboll.
Wow, I actually did not see that. Okay.
So that.
How do you fall for? How is he not? It's almost like he was so unprepared. But
that's a perfect
Dion
example.
Not like have him.
That's a perfect example of you show up unprepared or whatever, and that's a real test of how you act when you're unprepared. Whether you're gonna let it blow up in your face and become a crybaby about it, or if you're gonna toughen up and be a man and like take it on the chin and like.
How do you say that to the head coach you want to be drafted by in an interview? That's insane to me. Like, how do you? He's
got called
such
out
an
on
interesting.
He didn't like that he got called out on it, and Daboll didn't appreciate him not liking it.
Must have been an awkward rest of the meeting.
So like,
and
that just goes with anything in life. If you
Yeah.
show up unprepared and someone, I don't know, choose you out like for a job or something, someone choose you out for not being prepared, like that's something you got to take responsibility and be accountable for that. You can't. I don't know.
Daboll is just testing him, and I don't know how. I don't know how you're not prepared for that. That's my question. Like literally last year, he did all those. The Giants had Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and on the Hard Knock show.
Yeah.
He did all that with those guys, and it's just part of the process. I feel like, and you could be cocky in a good like Malik Neighbors is a cocky player, but it's a good way. He's also a wide receiver, so again, it's different.
Yeah.
But like, it's not arrogant that he never came.
And
off
even
as.
like you just mentioned those meetings on Hard Knocks, like Jaden Daniels.
Yes,
I forget what
throw the touchdown.
Yeah,
I know exactly
Brian Daboll
he loved it.
Yeah, he was like, "What do you think I want you to do on this play?" And Jaden Daniels said, "Throw a touchdown." He's like, "Oh, I like this."
Yeah,
but he's a complete opposite personality from a Shedeur Sanders, who all Shedeur Sanders cares about is his personal brand, and Jaden Daniels cares about just playing football.
I mean, it came out just how it was the worst formal interviews ever, and teams just took him off their draft boards totally because of it, which I just don't know how he wasn't more prepared for this. I keep going back to that.
Yeah, and
or is that just who he is and he can't hide it? Maybe.
And that's why I say I don't feel bad, because also it's not like the money he was going to get from being it's a huge difference in money from being a first round pick.
He doesn't need the money.
But he doesn't need the money. Also, in the day and age of NIL, he's a huge superstar.
He can never work a day in his life again.
Yes,
I felt a little bad for him.
And he could be a regular person and still never have to work a day in his life because of who his dad is.
Yeah, I always try to put myself in these people's shoes, and I'm like, I felt bad because like I said this to you, and you thought I was excited. This is probably one of the worst stretches of his life.
There's no way.
You're right. Life's a stretch. Professional career, probably. It probably is like.
Well, it's his first day.
Okay,
on the job.
football career.
Okay.
They're professionals in college now. He's making money.
No, you're right.
They almost are. But I've tried to put myself in shoes where it's like, this is your dream. You always dreamed of being a first round pick, and he almost blew it with the stuff that shouldn't even matter. The stuff that you don't even almost look at. Just the stuff that you check mark almost when you go into the NFL draft, the draft interview stuff, and he just totally blew it.
But also, I don't know. Maybe I just have a different way of looking at it. I would still look at it from the perspective of like how lucky I am to get drafted, and not
that's a fair
necessarily
point, honestly.
where it was. And if that's your quarterback, the guy leading your team, like you kind of want the guy to have that.
You're
type
right.
of
I mean,
perspective.
the history of football, the personalities are like even a guy that had demands. Like Eli Manning demanded to big family, but he never had the personalities of Shedeur Sanders.
And
not
also,
even close.
People were trying to compare.
I saw a lot of comparisons with the
tweet,
Mannings.
Well, the tweet that Dion had a couple years ago, where it was like, "I wouldn't let my son go to Cleveland."
He said.
Or he's like, there's only 4 or 5 teams that I would let him go to. Or something.
What I saw is he did say that at one point. I saw in 2018 he said, "I like what the Browns have done, but I would never I would never want to be a quarterback that goes there," which is kind of funny.
Yeah, and I guess Eli did do the thing in San Diego, which was brought on by his dad. I also just think it's a different day and age with social media and everything.
Eli was also a much better prospect.
He was a better prospect too, and that sort of thing can stay undercover almost, where there's rumblings of like this guy doesn't want to go here, but if that's nowadays where everything Shedeur Sanders does is Twitch streamed and all over the internet, like I feel like you're not hiding that.
You're right. Because that's true. I feel like the bad word wouldn't have gone out as fast as it did.
And
with
also
him.
it goes
if it's
back
20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It also goes back to my point that I was saying before is Shedeur Sanders is about his brand and not about football, whereas the Mannings,
All
especially
about
back then,
yeah.
are all about football.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
right.
yeah.